Haku, Hamanat Netawan, Alan Salazar, Pasekfa Nukasin. Hello, I'm Alan Salazar from the village of Pasekfa, which is San Fernando, the town of San Fernando, and it's where my indigenous ancestors come from. Today I want to honor my Ventureño Chumash ancestors. We trace back to the village of Tuapu, which is probably about, as the crow flies, maybe 8-10 miles north of us here. But we're on Ventureño Chumash land. We're on unceded Ventureño Chumash land. And when I say unceded, that means that the Ventureño Chumash are not fairly recognized by the U.S. government. We've never signed any treaties or any agreements. We never sold our land or gave our land to anyone. So we believe it's unceded land or stolen land. The Ventureño Chumash are one of the oldest tribes in all of North America. We've been here well over 10,000 years, more like 13 to 14,000 years. And we are still here. It's land that we love and protect and honor and respect. So I want to welcome you to Ventureño Chumash land here outside of the city of Agora. It's an honor to be here today. We're just a little bit north of the Liberty Canyon exit over the 101, and we're at the foothills above where the largest wildlife corridor, the largest wildlife bridge in North America will be built. We hope to break ground and have a big ceremony sometime in January, so in about 3 months. We're close to raising almost all the money we need, but if someone has a few dollars there that they would like to donate to a good cause, we'll gladly accept some donations. We're a few million short, my understanding. But as you can see, it's a beautiful area, and as someone that has indigenous ancestry, this land here, as you can see, the foothills around us, these are the lands that my ancestors from Tapu, even my Tataviam ancestors from Chagoyanga, which is where Magic Mountain is, which you would think is a good 30-40 miles away, but still we would travel great distances to hunt, to collect. While I was waiting for the cameramen to show up, I got a nice bag full of acorns today, and I made sure to leave some for the blue jays and the acorn woodpeckers and all the squirrels and deer that are still around here. But this is an important area for Chumash people. It leads, these canyons and ravines lead to our villages along the ocean. And the Chumash, for the most part, are a maritime culture. Our canoe culture is a very large part of the Chumash culture. This is just a beautiful area. Even though, like I said, we're a little bit inland, but we were an extremely strong, tough, hardy group of people. So to travel over the foothills and live in a village here where there's an abundance of oak trees and acorns and an abundance of wild game, the deer population here is tremendous. And before the Spanish and Americans arrived, the native population, the native animal population was tremendous in this area. These mountains would be full of coyotes and wolves, bears, even grizzly bears this far south, and the mountain lion population was tremendous. So we would, for the most part, most of our villages were along the ocean, but even the villages around Agora, the villages of Sapui, which is where Thousand Oaks is, and the word Sapui means valley of the deer, home of the deer. So there was an abundance of deer, but those villages inland here, they still had their canoes. It wasn't unusual. The villages around Santa Ynez, which is 20 miles inland from Point Conception and that Longpoke area, in Guadalupe, they had their canoes, and their canoe builders, their canoe paddlers, their fishermen would travel over the mountains, would travel over these foothills to go out into the ocean. And I've been told, and it makes sense, I didn't think about this when I started researching my tribal history, that 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, the abalone population along our coast and especially on our islands was tremendous. And an abalone will, depending on the species, the red abalone, the black abalone, the rare white abalone, will get almost to 12 inches in diameter. And there's a lot of meat in there. And someone said the abalone was for the Tongva Gabrielino and the Chumash and Tataviam, it was our buffalo. We didn't have buffalo out here, but that was a tremendous source of food. And then the shells, you can do so much with the shells. See if I can get my hook out here. So abalone was used to make fish hooks. You make large bowls. Abalone lasts for thousands and thousands of years. If I was to lose this and it was to get buried in the ground, someone could find this 5,000 years from now and it'll still look like this. So abalone, the fish that the ocean provides, it was a major food source. So the Chumash, their maritime culture, was a large part of their culture, and our canoes are very unique. So there's only 2 tribes on the whole west coast. The Tongva Gabrielino from the Los Angeles Basin, and the Chumash that go from Malibu all the ways up to Morro Bay, 200 miles of prime coastline. And we built wood plank canoes and tied and glued them together. And they were anywhere from 15, 20 feet long to 40, 50 feet long. They were used to carry a lot of weight, to catch a lot of fish. So even in a 25-foot tamal, because it's flat bottom and they carry a lot of weight, you could easily catch 400 pounds of fish. In a 30, 40-foot canoe, you can easily put 10, 12 people and use it as a shuttle to take people from the mainland out to the island, or from the islands to the mainland. So our canoes could be in various lengths, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. A 25-foot tamal, you can easily catch 400 pounds of fish and bring back 400 pounds of fish to your village. The longer tamals, 30, 40 feet, could carry 10, 12 people, and were used like shuttles sometimes to take people from the mainland villages out to the villages on the islands of Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa, San Miguel. So they were almost like shuttles and taxis today. An interesting fact about our Chumash tamals, we stopped building them during the mission period because we were the slave labor workforce for the missions. So all of our young people learned mission jobs, how to grow crops, how to make wine, how to be a blacksmith, how to make carts and things like that. So somewhere around the 1820s, 1830s, we stopped building our tamals. But in 1824, there was a Chumash revolt. We're going to have a big celebration in 2024 for the Chumash revolt that happened at Santa Barbara Mission, La Primissima, and Santa Ynez missions. And during that revolt, some of the last few tamals were used to take people that were escaping the soldiers out to the islands to where they were safe. And then some went into the foothills like this and hid in the mountains, because we know this land way better than the Spanish ever did. So yes, I consider myself a person of the ocean. Tamal is the Chumash word for canoe, so our canoe culture has made a comeback. It's been revitalized, and we hope to during the pandemic, we weren't on the water very much, but we will be back out there in our canoes, and we'll be building them for generations and generations to come. I was talking to some people from the Santa Barbara Presidio and about the school programs they do there. And I touched on some of the horrific, tragic things that have happened to California Native peoples, how half of our population died during the mission period, a relatively short time, 40 to 50 years. So 150,000 California Native peoples died during that period. During the first 30 years of California history, there was genocide and Indian massacres throughout the state, and our population was decimated once again, probably down to less than 10% of the population. So 90% of our population did not survive the first 30 years of U.S. history due to bounties and massacres that the soldiers carried out. But I think it's important to address those issues, but I always have a but. We have come back from close to being extinct. The Chumash were close to extinction. The Tataviam were even closer to extinction, but we're still here. And by the 1900, there was probably at best maybe a couple hundred people with Chumash ancestry, maybe less than 200. There was less than probably 100 Tataviam, and now there's over 1,000 in our tribe. There are over 5,000 people that have Chumash ancestry. Our language is making a revitalization. Our canoes are making a revitalization. And because tribal people are so connected to the earth, and we're so connected to the animals, even ones we hunted. So the deer, we hunted. It was a major food source for us. But we respected the deer. We never over-hunted. We would do ceremony and sing song and do dance and make offerings to the deer, that they made the ultimate sacrifice. They would die so we could live. And we respected that. And that's the difference between native cultures and American cultures. Our respect for the animals that we hunted. We never over-hunted. And my hope and dream of my involvement with this project is not just to build one wildlife bridge so that the deer can cross safely, so that the mountain lions can cross safely, so the lizards and snakes can cross safely, the raccoons and possums, but for that revitalization of them. We can do it. We've done it with the condors. We're doing it with the wolves. So it's just 6 months ago, I believe, or around that time, no one has seen any wolves in California. They've been extinct for over 100 years. And then one lone roof crossed the Oregon-California border. Stop and think where the Oregon-California border is. That wolf has been spotted in northern Ventura County. That's 600-700 miles. So we can bring back the large predators. And it's one of the things that I tell kids. When the Spanish came, they brought livestock, cattle, sheep, goats. And in order to protect their cattle, sheep, and goats, they started killing all the wolves and mountain lions, because those were the two largest predators and the two most successful predators. So they looked at them as a problem. Native peoples, we looked at them as they are some of the greatest hunters we have. We need them so we can learn. It's hard to even see a mountain lion. So their stealth, mountain lion energy can be one of 2 or 3 things. I like the hunter-warrior aspect of the mountain lion, that you never see them. If you're a hunter, you don't want to be seen. If you're a warrior, you don't want to be seen until it's too late, and that's the mountain lion. It is one of the best hunters we have, but I say this all the time. My Chumash ancestors, my Tataviam ancestors, my Tonga Gabrielino ancestors, even my English and Portuguese ancestors on my mom's side, they all respected those large predators. My California indigenous people 300 years ago used them as teachers. My English Portuguese ancestors used those animals as teachers 3,000 years ago. They were tribal people 3,000 years ago. So we've all used them as teachers. And I think it's important that we get back to that we get back to coming out in nature here and watching and observing, I watched 2 acorn woodpeckers the other day in Carpinteria, and I didn't think in October, or it was late September, that it was mating season, but they were doing this mating thing and flying from the top of one telephone pole and then the other one chasing the other one off, and then they just kind of playing tag back and forth. So I don't know if it was a mating ritual or just 2 acorn woodpeckers having a little fun. But it's something that I enjoyed and was, trying to learn from. And some people think that mountain lion, because you never see them, that they're mystical. They might even have witchcraft, so they're associated with bad things. But I like the hunter-warrior aspect, and something that we don't think about when we think of certain animals. The mountain lion does not waste. He's the way my ancestors used to be. We tried not to be wasteful. We wouldn't kill a deer, cut off the hindquarter, and leave the rest. We used all of that deer, the bones, the hide, the antlers, and mountain lions are just the same. Mountain lions don't chase field mice, wood rats. They could catch 20 of them, but they save their energy. They like deer. And one deer will feed mom and her cubs for several days, and they don't waste any of that deer. She doesn't waste any of her movement when she's hunting. If you watch a mountain lion when they hunt, they're very efficient. They're either going to be successful within the first 20, 30 yards of the attack, or they're not going to be successful, and they wait and blend into the surroundings and wait for the next deer to come along. But the mountain lion is efficient in her movements. And in most tribal cultures, they talk about mountain lion in the feminine. So I think it's because they admired the mama mountain lions who raise the cubs, still hunt, protect their cubs. A mountain lion mama is equivalent to me with the mama bear. They're very protective. They're great moms. But like I said, they're very efficient. So if you're a runner, whether you're a sprinter or a long distance runner, you want to be efficient in your movements, how you carry your arms, how far you lean. It's very subtle differences that separate from winning the race or taking 4th or 5th place. Efficiency of movement. That's what all track and cross-country coaches will basically tell you they're trying to teach their runners. All they have to do is just watch video and films of a mountain lion when they're stalk and when they attack, and that burst of speed and how efficient they are. So that's what I mean by we can learn many lessons. We use animals as teachers, and it's very simple. If you watch long enough and you watch a deer, you watch the coyote, you watch mountain lions if you're lucky enough to see one, you can learn many lessons that are important. You can learn life lessons that will help you survive. It's something that I believe very strongly in, that as a culture, we've gotten away from being observant. We have tunnel vision, we walk around looking at our cell phones, and we don't observe what's going on around us. And most tribal cultures believe that everything has its own power, its own gift. They're all teachers. So this shrub, this dry grass, the little lizards and bugs, the spider that's weaving its web over here, we can all learn lessons from all of them. They're all teachers if we take time to observe our surroundings. And I think that's just key. As a Native person, it's complex. Within the Native community, relationships are complex, and our relationship with the U.S. government is complex. So when I did the land acknowledgement, I mentioned the Ventureño Chumash. I mentioned that I'm from the village of Pasekfa. I mentioned Chogoyanga, which is the Tataviam village. So both the Ventureño Chumash, the Fernandinho Tataviam Band of Mission Indians, we are federally non-recognized. So in order for us to be involved in things like this, we have to do research, and we have to send out emails and contact with this person and that person to have our voice heard. The Sandy Inez Chumash are a fairly recognized tribe. The local government agencies have to contact them. And government agencies, federal, state, county, city, contact federally recognized tribes. And they have a government-to-government relationship. So the federally non-recognized tribes, it's much more difficult for us to be involved with projects like this, even though this is our homeland, and the protection of the mountain lions and all the animals to build a bridge is something that's very important to us. And I was talking earlier about revitalization. I think as little as 10 years ago, there were hardly any native peoples involved with the major environmental groups, the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy, the Sierra Club, and the various other nature conservancies. And in the last 10 years, I don't know if we've guilted them or they've just realized, when I sit down with a class from a university, and I'm sitting there with an anthropologist. An anthropologist has studied, he's read about us, he's interviewed people like me. The difference is I've lived it. I learned not just from archaeologists and anthropologists, I learned from tribal elders. So the native voice is an important voice, because we said this 500 years ago when the Spanish brought all their cattle. We're like, ooh, you may want to rethink that. Because we saw right away that they were going to how much of the habitat they were going to destroy, how much they were going to affect the deer population and the other animals that ate the grass. And we weren't listened to because we were thought of as subhuman. The Catholic Church can preach all they want that we weren't treated that bad at the missions. But there's not a Catholic priest, a cardinal, or the Pope that cannot deny that they rationalized that my ancestors were inferior. Our culture was inferior. When they labeled us hunters and gatherers, that's a left-handed insult. That's the way I call it. That we're just hunters and gatherers. We're a simple culture. And we weren't just hunters and gatherers. Our canoe technology was as superior as the Viking canoe technology, very similar. Our cultures, our relationship with the tribes, our business relationships, our trading relationships were very complex. But we were labeled as inferior. And it's taken us to 2020, to 2021, to be at least invited to the table. I don't have a master's, I don't have a PhD. But I'll sit down and discuss with people that have masters and PhDs about how to protect this, and because I'm speaking from my heart. I'll hold my own with any of them. My connection to the land, an environmentalist, an environmental scientist, a biologist, a botanist, they can't match that. I'm doing a talk at a church in Bakersfield, California in November. And it's about home. Our creation stories, our stories talk about this is our home. We didn't migrate here. We didn't come in boats and ships. This is where we were created. The Rainbow Bridge, how the Sky people created the Chumash people, how the animals created the Chatavian people, how Hutash, the Mother Earth Spirit, cast seeds of a plant, and from that plant grew the Chumash people, which says we came from this land. We're the only ones that can say that. The Chumash are the only ones that can say we came from this land. In the Los Angeles Basin, the Tongva Gabrielino are the only ones that can say we came from this land. This is our home. We love it and protect it at a little bit higher level than anyone else. And I've said this all my life. I was born in my tribal land. I will die in my tribal land. This is my home.